Babe? Oh, he wasn't here, just checking. So I wanted to do this video alone, hence why there's no sexy ginger next to me. Because I was trying to like get the courage and talk about my life from back home, and then I've never got. So I'm gonna talk about my life from the year, I can't remember the year exactly, but I was 17. Prior to that, when I was young, I was always having a friend in all boys school, because back then the schools were like all boys and all girls, from primary all the way to high school. So I've got a friend that if he didn't show up to school or we want to play out after school, I'll have a bit of respect and the most fun with and protective of him. And I didn't know what that meant until I got to this 17-year-old. And I had one in primary school, and I had one in middle school, and I had a third one in high school. All that got translated when I figured out who I was, and I've always been like that, and I didn't know it had a name, but there was always like those slurs going all over school since primary, which is faggot, gay, and so many other things. It's in Arabic is totally different. They say khanith, and what's the other one? I can't even say the words. I can't, but most of it is, this is the word that you would hear. So that one time, my father was out for work, and he had his own laptop, and my neighbor was outside waiting for me to play football. So I decided, as I always do, go to the computer, and I had my favorite football player, which obviously I had a crush on. I didn't know that until obviously that moment. And I've googled the translation for the word khanif to English, and he was G-A-Y, gay. And I was like, oh, I didn't Google that before. So I copied the word and I put it in Google. I clicked on photos, and all the photos that came out, I was like, what? And I swear to God, I didn't know what hit me, but then it's like, surprise! I came out to myself first, and I didn't know how that happened, but those photos, like, they're out in the open telling me to, that is you, unfortunately, if you want it or not. But here you go. After that day, I made sure that that's what I need to look for, and that's what I need to maybe watch some shows about it, movies, or some maybe on Oprah or Ellen DeGeneres' shows back then, if there's someone was talking about it, because we had Oprah on our TV, but we didn't have Ellen. But I didn't know that until further on. I went to college after high school, and back home they give you £200 a month to spend on your studies. So I saved that up, and I bought myself my first ever laptop. It was Acer, because that was the most affordable one back then. I started googling the gay shows, and the first one that came up, which I've spoken about before in the channel, is this one, Queer as Folk. So that show was the biggest thing that ever happened to my life, because it showed me my life is possible. Because back home, I didn't know even we existed, and because he was frowned upon, he was against the religion, and I can't believe really I'm holding the box set um, from the time I watched the first ever episode, and that time was Lady Gaga's Poker Face, I'm pretty sure, video clip, or maybe that was the time I first watched it ever. Um, and that's when I got introduced to Lady Gaga as well. And after that, the explosion of information that kept hitting me, like it was so much that I don't know what to start with. And then Ricky Martin popped up. He came out, I think, I don't know what the year exactly, but I started watching Ellen DeGeneres' show as well. And then he came up in one of the interviews talking about his life, and he came out on Oprah first, because I think that was the debut of Ricky Martin as a gay man. It was on Oprah, and then I think he went to Ellen DeGeneres as well, and then he released a book called Ricky Martin Me after he came out, and this book is my first English book I've ever read, and not that by that time I did not know a single word in English. I can speak it a bit, but then thank God for video games, because that's how I started learning, and the music. But then most of the shows I watched, it was subtitled, but then for a time I started correcting the subtitles on the shows, because for me it didn't sound exactly what the characters were talking about. So I've googled how I can get this, because I can't buy it in Saudi Arabia. That's where I'm from, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I found that there's a guy who buys things for people from abroad, and he charged them extra for the service. And I was shaken so bad, and I was like, oh, there's a singer that I like and all of that, so I have to tell that person that I'm really buying this because I like the singer, because I didn't want him to know that I actually bought the book because I'm gay and he's gay and I want to read about his experience. So he bought me the book, which I think it was $27, but I didn't pay that. I think I paid $100 for everything, shipping and everything, and the guy's service. I went to the guy to collect the book. It was in front of shops. It was I remember the exact shop, and it was a laundromat, and then there's a Turkish barber next to it. So I stood between, because there's a massive column that separates the two shops, so there's no one can see me getting the book from the guy who bought the book from America. And he gave me the book looking dead into my eyes, and I took it with just a quick glance at his eyes, and I just paid him the money I was owed him as well. So I paid the percentage, and I gave him the full percentage when I took the book. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you do things like that, looking at the book. Ordering from America, I might order some video games from you that we don't have here. And I just left, and he's like, all right, thank you. And he walked the other way, and the whole time I was walking back home, I was literally trying to cover the name, the book like that, walking. And I went back home and I started reading the book straight away, which was a bit of a difficult for me. So, and this is my first time reading it again since I bought it. I've read the first page, which is page number 3. That's not the first page. He started with Mahatma Gandhi quote, God help me to tell the truth to the strong and to avoid telling lies, to get the weak's applause. If you give me fortune, do not take away my reason. If you give me success, do not take away my humility. I can't read it. And I can't believe how relatable it is, actually. If you give me humility, do not take away my dignity. God, help me to see the other side of the medal. Don't let me blame others of treason just because they don't think like me. God, teach me to love people as I love myself and to judge me as I judge others. Please don't let me be proud if I succeed or fall in despair if I fail. Remind me that failure is the experience that precedes triumph. Teach me that forgiven is the most important in the strong, and that revenge is the most primitive sign in the weak. If you take away my success, let me keep my strength to succeed from failure. If I fail people, give me courage to apologize, and if people fail me, give me courage to forgive them. God, if I forget you, please do not forget me. Imagine I've read that back. Oh God, I can't even remember. This is my second time reading it now. From that moment on, I started realizing that there's a whole world out there for me, and I decided that, right, I'm gonna work hard at school, I'm gonna work hard after school, find the best job that I can get and start saving up for my future. But then with life around me kept changing, my parents and my family, I had the pressure to buy my own family house. So my father is not taking the lead when it comes to providing for the family, because I was one of the sons that worked, so then the focus was on me. And bear in mind, I just started my work life, which is back in 2012, and the goal was there, but then I had to provide first for now so I can proceed to that ultimate goal. So I started work, and for a full year I didn't know that I can actually take my holiday and start applying for trips to travel. I didn't know that I can book a ticket and actually go. It wasn't in my mind because I've got a lot at the moment that I'm trying to survive through and then get there. I started going to the gym, exercising, even though I didn't do it that well in the beginning, but I liked it because it was changing my body, and I was like, oh, this is good, and I'm interacting with other people, guys and all of that, and I was seeing guys there as well, fit as hell, but they gave me another understanding of the whole community as is right now, and I started getting to know other people, and some of them suggested, oh, we need to go to Spain. I said, oh, what's happening in Spain? He mentioned that there's a good destination if you want to learn about where the Arabs were in Spain, in Andalusia. It's southern Spain. I don't even know if I said it right in English. It's called an Al-Andalus. In Arabic, probably in Spanish as well. So I like the idea of seeing, well, I wouldn't say my ancestors, but I would say Muslims were there. So I went to Spain, and that was my first ever trip. I've just left the country. I've never had an experience with any guy, and I've never seen anything, not a gay club, not a bar, not a gay person in front of me that's not even a Saudi guy, because I don't know if a Saudi guy is going to come out or not back home, which obviously can't. So I arrived in Spain. I was looking at guys. I was like, oh God, this Spanish people. Oh God. I mean, men and women. And then I started seeing the guys, and I was like, oh, I can't even. I don't know how to approach them either. Bear in mind, I was like 20, 21 21 probably, or 22. I'm not sure which year it was. The first club, which was a gay club. I was so nervous. I was standing there in the middle of the club, holding my drink, which was a Budweiser, which I didn't drink because I was against alcohol, because we didn't have alcohol back home and we still don't. Looking at the guys dancing and all of that, and I remember them like coming, just nudging me. I was like, "You dance as well?" And I was just holding it, looking at them, and then I was that weirdo sitting in the corner of the club. If that was your thing, fine. But that was me back then. And then my mates told me about a gay app that I needed to download, which is Grindr, and I downloaded it. And then that night, I happened to have an understanding with a guy, which I met, and we met in one of the beaches in Barcelona. I think it was called Marbella Beach or something like that. They had a concert there, not a big concert, it's more like it was a name day, something like that. I can't remember it. But then I met a guy who was Spanish and another guy who was Tunisian, and he was gay as well. And I was like, ooh. And then another Moroccan woman, and she was fine with it. So I was like, what? Which is, now I know it's a fag hag. I felt a bit weird, so I can't even act like me. But then with everything came as an exterior effect on me, I felt even more awkward. So the guy just gave me the bottle of Bombay Sapphire gin, a blue bottle, and it was huge. And he's like, "Oh, drink," and I didn't even know how it happened. I just took the bottle and I just downed it, and I gave him back, and it burned the shit out of me. Having said that, I'm really thirsty at the moment. It's not a drink. It's not a gin either. It's diluted juice from a Malik'S, brought you by. So, Ryan, are you here? I don't know if he's here, but I heard something. Because I want to make this surprise as well to him. He heard some of the stories, but I want him to see this first time as you're seeing it. And if you heard that, Ryan, and he's still listening to me, you're cheating. So you owe me a full day of me playing PlayStation 5. Oh, he's not. So yeah, so I remember I was wearing flip flops and I was wearing short shorts, I think, and then a yellow top that has a diamond on it, which I bought in Barcelona. There's a shop, I think, called I can't even spell it, but I'll find the logo somewhere. And then I saw people looking at me, especially men, two couples looking at me weird, and I was like, ugh, and now I know what that look was. And then that was before the guy showed up, and then we went, all of us together, 6 people, stood at the edge of the sea when the waves come in, and then he's like, "We're gonna jump 7 waves." It's like, okay. So I was wearing flip flops at that time, and some of us were, and we're jumping every wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I had no flip flops after that. It were washed away. So not only me, there's other people as well trying to get them because the waves took them away. And then he said after the 7th one, wish something, and that wish was what I'm right now. So, oh God, fuck's sake. What I wished for is living my life as what I'm meant to be, and living the life I was living back then, even though it was a holiday. But I was around gays and I was me. I wasn't faking anything. Yeah, that meant a lot to me. And then after that, we left from Barcelona to go to different area. I think it was Ibiza, the last one. And we went to a bigger club, but it wasn't a gay club. It was, I think, called forgot the name of it. It was a massive. It was big shows happening all over the place, and I was like looking like whoa. It was mixed, so I didn't know who's who, and I wasn't really looking for anything at that moment. But then I made sure to experience the fullest gay experience ever on that trip because I didn't know if I'm gonna come back again. And I went back home. That trip back home, it was the worst ever because I said I'm gonna leave all this behind and go back to normality, which I didn't enjoy. So packing things away and taking my old stuff out with the new things that I've got from the shops, which is usually, you know, things you couldn't find where I was in Riyadh, because you can't buy shorts, you can't buy shorts, you can't buy things that have big crops to them and more revealing, if I would say. So I kept them safe because I didn't know if any of my family would go into my room and see it. The next year I planned straight away to go to another trip, which was back in Barcelona, because they had an event called Circuit Festival or Circuit or something like that. It was 2015, and I made sure I go, and I decided I want to go to Greece as well because I loved everything about statues, full stop, and mainly statues of naked men. I went to Circuit Festival with one of my friends, ex-friend, and two extra ones, which they were ex-friends as well. I my job. I went to the Circuit Festival for 7 days. I experienced more with guys, danced more that time, tried more alcohol that time, and I loved it. And I went to Athens. It was even better. And I went to Mykonos. That was mental because I loved it because people were together, even the Greeks as well. And I've seen more guys of all ages and from all over the globe, because there was an event there as well, which I didn't know about until I left. And then I made sure to go to antique shops, which I like because you can find things there that people let go of and you can find new homes for it. And I found David.
Oh my god.
The silver one. So I bought to take home with me, which I found a big one, which we showed the last video, and Take Max, which made from, I can't remember the material, a bigger one like this big. We have them downstairs, and I love it. And I was scared shitless going back home with it because obviously it's a naked man. I was shaken going through customs back home in Riyadh. The custom person, or whatever his name is, he opened the bag because he saw in the camera that there's a lot of things popping out and he didn't know what it is. It looks like that. I had David. I had some helmets and some other naked men statue-y thingies from Athens, and one Aphrodite, I think, standing holding like that and on a shell. I have it somewhere, and I was a bit afraid that he would arrest me, so I was like, oh, this is just souvenirs, gifts for people. And he was like, he hold the Aphrodite one and looked at me and he was like, put it in the bag, and said fine, and he just closed it and gave me the bag. So I was like, whew, I felt really relieved. So after that I decided every year I should go somewhere so I can live the way I'm living and the way I'm supposed to live. So the next trip I decided to go somewhere closer because it was quicker from the ones before, because I used to go once a year. So I went to Dubai, and there was a movie that came out, It's called Call Me by Your Name. Um, I decided I would not watch it now because it was big back then, and I think it's still big. Because I want to read the book first. It was in Dubai Mall. I walked through and I found the book and I was like, "What? Call Me by Your Name?" I don't know if you saw this version before, but that was the book of the movie Call Me by Your Name. I've read it and I was like, bloody hell. I want to watch the bloody movie. So I've watched the movie. I bought it on iTunes and I bought the whole music album, the track, and then I had that track in Ryan and I's wedding. So even flying back to Riyadh with this book, I was like shitting myself, freaking out if I'll be caught. So you would ask, how would you communicate with other people back home, like gays or guys that you would think that they were gay, because you get that vibe, the gaydar they call it. How would you communicate with them? How would you know where they are and how that? Well, there was a street back home in Riyadh. They had a name for it. I forgot the name exactly of the actual road, but it's a road where guys who want other guys can drive through, and whoever's outside, they can pick them up. It's not like hookers. It's more like that's the only way of communicating with other guys who want guys. So I didn't know that because that was before my time. But then the group I went with in Barcelona, the second time to the Circuit Festival, they told me, "Oh, Starbucks." I was like, "What?" Like, Starbucks. So I've never been to Starbucks before. I went to Starbucks and they're like, "Oh, what drink would you like?" I was like, "Oh, cappuccino." That's the basic thing you'd order if you went to a new cafe, because you wouldn't know anything on the bloody menu. So caramel macchiato is one of them, and the mocha drinks and all of that. It's macchiato, I know that now. So they went with caramel macchiatos. I tried that. It was really good. I loved it. So that was the daily drink. And we sat there in the cafe in Starbucks. They usually sit outside because it's a smoking area. And the more people come, the more I would ask myself, like, bloody hell, it's gay guys. It kept happening. And I asked the guys, like, what's happening here? They're like, this is a gay place. Starbucks. It's our pub, if you like. Our bloody GAY, if that's what it's called, the club in London. I think it is actually. And then I was like, "Oh, so how's that work? Like, is it dangerous? Is someone's gonna come out, or the religious police?" So religious police are people who enforce religion, let's say values, to the community. So they would make sure people go to prayer at the time, at the same time, like to be there in the mosque. And if someone got a weird haircut, they go and shave them off. They take you to the barber and shave you off. If you wear bracelets, they take you literally like by hand, clip it, and then take you to jail. And if they saw a woman that they've got hair out or face not covered, they take her. If they saw a man and a woman, based on their judgment that they're not related, a brother, a son, or a husband, or an uncle, they will go and ask them weird questions to figure out if they're together or not. They take them, There is a lot of stories that they've been corrupt as hell, and it's stopped now, thankfully, for those reasons, because that's not the way that meant to be. But then they were so corrupt that they've fucked up the whole thing. People hated them because there's a lot of deaths happened because of them. There's a lot of obviously chasing cars and stuff like that. They would fake everything just to try and get you. They could be the hooker that you wanted. They could be the guy, the faggot that you wanted. They could be the alcohol provider, alcohol dealer that you wanted. They could be anything, right? And they will still get you. So they'll make plans to have appointments with you to either give you the stuff or actually hook up. But then it turns out to be them just to catch you, basically. So I asked that question. I said, are they gonna be here? Because this place is obviously full of guys. And my mate easily said, well, it's a cafe, and it's all men cafe, because Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King, any other restaurants you think of that in the Western world, it's a one door and it's a normal, and obviously the exit and kitchen door. I mean, the fire exit. It's actually segregated, a men's section and a women's section, or they call it a family section. So if you're a man and want to go to the family section alone, you can't. There's a sign that says families only, and in English and Arabic. And if you have your sister with you, or your wife or your daughter, you can go there. But if you don't, then you're a man, you need to go to a men's section. But a woman can walk to the men's section and order, if that was busy, just try to sneak a quick drink out. If that section was busy, no one can say anything. But if you do it the other way around, you're in trouble. So I was like, fine. I didn't know this thing would be normal. But then you can see two guys, like different guys, walking out to the car and going. So they look like they were talking to each other in the cafe or as a first date. And then they introduced me to another gay app called Scruff. So I had Grindr, Scruff, Tinder came later on, and something called Hornet, I think. So I had them all. Because I was like, oh, I can do this. I didn't know I can chat to other people and other guys and all that. And I was focused on Westerners. Because locals, I felt it a bit awkward because they still have that same thing I've got, the awkwardness of it, and being more not protective of their identities, more like afraid or something like that, which is within reason. But I wanted someone who's a Westerner, who was like there to work and go home and westernize and understand the whole thing behind it. And I've always told them as well about the story where I'm from and all of that, even though they're working. So I've got that sorted. So I had relationships with Westerners back home. I've asked one of the Westerners that was in Riyadh visiting for a business, he was British. He said to me, anything you want, what do you want me to get for you? Anything from the UK. I haven't travelled before. I didn't go anywhere. And then I wasn't even having the apps or even the trips I had before. That guy came about through, I had an iPod and I had Who's Here. The app, it's really old. I think people would know what that app is back then. And I've looked English names until one of them popped up and he was gay. I asked him for the LGBT flag. He's like, what? I was like, the LGBT flag? And he's like, are you for real? I was like, yeah. Why are you asking me? He said, I asked you anything, you just asked me for a flag. I said, yeah, because I can't get it here and I want it in my room. So he brought me a huge flag and I had it in my room. I've got a clothes rail and I was covering the clothes with. My brother walked in the room first when I've got my room done and I have that on top. And I did not. I know, like, I've got gay things around the room, which is obviously naked men and statues and all of that. But I've got an excuse for my travels. But that flag, he was like, "Isn't that a gay flag? What? Why do you have it?" I said, "What? It's a gay flag? What the fuck? How would I have a gay flag in my room? Are you joking?" And he's like, "Then what is it?" I said, "This is a peace flag." It's so similar, but it is not for the naked eye. Obviously, he passed it. Obviously, and I don't know if he took it as, it is a peace flag, but he took it. And I went to Australia on another trip, and I bought a mini one as well. So I've got two of them in the room. We had that Starbucks, I would call it gathering, with the two of my mates that we went with in Spain. I think, what was it? Was it every day or every other day? I'm not sure, because we used to go even on school nights, and we used to drink coffee, because that's what people do back there. They drink coffee 24 hours, even though they had to sleep a bloody 11 because they've got a shift at 5. Some of them don't even sleep. So bit by bit, a lot of stories comes up. There was a cafe that was next to a traffic light that was even worse than Starbucks. I'm talking about a lot of gays there that some of them put a makeup on, and some of them put even hair, like a woman's hair, like a wig, next to the traffic light. So that traffic light it's called, the street called Tahliya Street. The cars stop in the traffic light, and the cafes here, so people were standing and they could look what's in the cafe. So it got raided by religious police. The cafe called Second Cup, and then I don't know what happened with the people there, but they closed the whole cafe for months. It was closed, and they changed it to Shake Shack, which is an American burger chain. It's not in the UK, I think. Actually, it's in London, Covent Garden. Seen one recently, with Ryan. Until today, it's still Shake Shack, but the ones were there before they would know what happened to that place before it was a Shake Shack. So there's a lot of Starbucks around, but not all over the city. And then one day I was in the same Starbucks I used to go to. I started reading books. I was like, okay, right, I'm gonna put myself into work to get more English knowledge by reading actual book, because I didn't know that certain word like minutes looked like that. But I know what it sounds like, I know what it is, and I know when to use it, but I didn't know what it looked like. So I said, how am I going to do that? I'm going to start reading books. So I started by reading the things that I'm interested in, which is, one of them was Harry Potter books, because I grew up watching Harry Potter, and I'm pretty sure I learned the language through there initially, and the accent as well, because I know it sounds different, but then when I'm back home, people look at me like, oh, have you studied in the UK? And I've been asked that question a lot, especially with my last job, when I had American workmates, managers and COOs asking me the same question if I studied in the UK. I said no. I didn't. I've learned the language, as what I said to you just now, movies, and then putting music on, and then reading the books in the cafes, because obviously for me, music makes me focused on whatever task I'm doing at the moment. And the Game of Thrones time as well, I used to play Rami's tracks of Game of Thrones, and then reading the book, because in the book, especially if there's like a dramatic scene, you would so I love that, so I started doing that a lot. And then I had enough with the music, with the books, so I started having thunderstorm noises and all that in my ear while I'm reading the book. But then at that time, in the same cafe in Starbucks, people walking, and Ryan, every creak I hear, I think it's Ryan. I've seen two guys walking in. They had t-shirts on, but then they've got the hairs this side and all of that, and I was like, I'm gonna put my book in and I'll go order, because I used to drink two coffees. I had a latte and then a cold one before I go. So I put my book on and my headphones just to save the place, because it was busy. It was getting busier that night, and then I stood in the line. The guy was ordering and he was wearing a t-shirt, but then he was a bit like going out like that. I was like, wait a minute, I'm pretty sure he's got fake boobs on. So I froze. I froze. I was staring at the boobs like I'm a straight guy full of a bloody balloon boobs, because I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. I was like, here? I didn't know what to do. So I didn't order. I packed my things and walked away and never came back to that Starbucks again, because I was afraid that the same thing would happen from that second cup cafe. So I found another Starbucks to sit in. I didn't hear anything about that. I don't know what happened, but I kept it in my head that I'm not going to do it again. So I found another cafe and I kept doing reading and all of that in a cafe, and I had Tinder as well. So I was like swiping around and reading, playing Pokemon Go, walking all over the street to hatch eggs and all of that. I know I'm such a geek. So going back to the religious police, the gay apps, which I've started deleting, because the religious police had fake accounts. So they would put someone's a leg or a thigh or up a chest or whatever, because this is what we have back home. No one got the face out. It's only a chest or whatever. And then obviously they would try and talk until find out that, you know, you're comfortable with sharing your own face. So that would be the first question. Someone got pulled by that, so got arranged to meet at a certain street, and then they were like, oh, I'm gonna pick you up and then we're gonna go to my place. But then the person that got picked up, it was picked up by a religious police person, so they took him straight away. I don't know what happened. Usually the stories end there. You wouldn't know exactly what happened, like the breakdown. And then another story as well. When you go meet someone, they usually get a room for a night, like anywhere in any 3-star hotel or 2-star hotel. Sometimes the reception individuals, usually a man back then, because we didn't have women working everywhere back then. He would be in a deal with the religious police. He can get £100 for each call he will make to catch indecent acts. So either a man with a woman or a man with a man, but usually a man with a man. So this guy going to the hotel with the guy, and all of a sudden they hear like a knock on the door. So they got afraid, and then the guy took his condom off, flushed it down the toilet, and then they got dressed and act normal, and then they opened the door and he was a religious police. So they questioned them, but then they took them anyway, and they charged them anyway, because there's 2 men in one apartment and they booked for one night. So they put things together and you must be doing something wrong. So they took them, and you go in jail. You go for a certain period of time, but then in a way you have to prove that you've got mental illness, you've got mental issues. So you have to go to see a doctor, a shrink, and then he could assign you like with whatever. But then the funny thing is, someone did go, and then the shrink himself is gonna give him a blowjob as well, because he's gay, so automatically he can do anything. Because I remember coming out to one of my mates straight away. That's why he asked me for sex. I ended up the relationship then and there, because I didn't tell you for anything other than so I can feel better, because the pressure on me and where I was, my environment was too much to bear. But because I enjoy time with you, I would let you know about my life, and that was it. It was the end of it. Because back there, if you're gay, then you can do anything really. They don't give a shit. So the other cases which people would talk about, obviously the Sharia law. I don't think it goes straight away. Like when someone steals, they don't chop their hand. When someone whatever, if you're gay, you've got death penalty. Yes, but then for some reason, obviously you'd be like, oh, you didn't hear about it because no one survived it. But they do certain things. I'm pretty sure there's like jail sentences if you've done it once or twice and whatever, and then you've got the proof that you've got illness, and which that could take you out of it. But then if you do it again, then you're actually fucked. So that's when it comes to sentencing. And then with hearing all these stories, I deleted everything, but I kept traveling, and I went to Australia, and I blame Australia for that. I went to the Australia Tower, I think it's called. It's a TV tower, I think. It's the same one as the one in London. Looks exactly the same, I think. I made a promise to myself that from now on, I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be approaching people myself, and I'm gonna have Tinder. I'm gonna put my face there. I'm gonna put everything of me there, and then I don't care what's gonna happen. Like I'm done. Like fuck it. So I did that, and I found out that more people are doing that these days. So there's a lot of people putting their faces on because you don't know who you're going with, and they blocked Grindr, they blocked Scruff, they blocked most of the apps there, but Tinder was still operating for some reason. So I had that there, and that got me to Ryan, because that was one of my trips as well when I came here to the UK. It was because of that, because I had my pictures on. I didn't put a thigh or a shoulder or a half face and things like that. But a lot of people were using it as well. Guys. So you would ask what happened if your family know of you being gay, or how's your people around you will react. Well, I'm pretty sure, because no one is stupid. No, people would know whether you told them or not. I'm not camp by any means, but I'm pretty sure westernized, because that's what they called me in the house, because I had different ideas. I had a lot of arguments with my father about it, because he didn't want me to be the way I am as westernized, because I brought weird ideas to the house, which that was one of them. Taking my sister to the concerts, and the first concerts ever in Saudi Arabia, which was it 2018 or 2019? I can't remember, but there was a concert where Formula E was there for the first time, and I took my sister, and I got told off through my sister by one of my brothers, saying, I don't blame you, I blame the one who took you to the concert, even though my sister asked for it. Imagine Dragon was there, so we loved it. So I went to the next concert the next year, and I think how many went? I think I went 3 or 2. I can't remember. God, it was like ages ago. So I told them when I was 17, when I started saving money, I told them I'm gonna live in Canada, because the life here, I don't think it's for me. And they were like, ha ha ha, yeah, right, it's okay, just keep dreaming. And then I went to work recently, 3 years ago or something like that. And I told my workmate there, he was British, because he was British environment. I told him, I'm not going to be 13, I'm still in Saudi Arabia. He said, ha 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 ha, are you really? I was like, yeah. He's like, what are you gonna do? I said, well, I would save money and I'll go study. So that time I changed my ideas to study in Spain because I want to learn Spanish and get the degree, and that would help me to get a job there and live there. So I started saving money. So I came to the UK and I met Ryan, and he ruined everything. I've shifted all my plans to here. I'm gonna be in the UK living with Ryan, and there's nothing about it. I've got no second thoughts, nothing. And then COVID happened. We meant to meet every 3 months. You know that already. If you watched the videos before, I'm gonna attach the first part of it. And then I got stuck. I couldn't fly out. I couldn't bring Ryan in. It was a bit difficult for us to meet because he was a Westerner and he can't visit, and I was a local. I can't fly. But all my workmates used to fly because they were Brits, so they've got families here, so they have to see them, and they're here because of that. And I said I needed the holiday so I can go see my family as well, but I cannot really specify what that family was. So the next chance I had, which I had 72 hours to get ready, fly, or I'm gonna get another COVID test and I'll be positive for COVID, because back then wasn't really reliable. So packed everything I could and I just flew here straight away. I took my PlayStation because I'm such a gamer, and I loved the Assassin's Creed games, which made by Ubisoft. I've got more than that, but I've got these two for a certain reason, which I'm gonna talk about. This one, it's in Greece mainly, but goes to Rome, I think, as well. No, it's actually Greece, fully. I bought it in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, when it first came out. And then I found out that most characters, when you speak to most characters, you cannot have a relationship with a guy in a bloody game, right? It's a game. It's a game. I feel like Mario. It's a bit weird. Literally now I'm talking and laughing to the camera. No one is laughing. There's no one else I'm laughing with. So yeah, and most of the statues in the game was their penises covered with a leaf. So I can't even. I was like, wait a minute. I paid a lot of money for this game, but then most of it is being cut off to pieces. And this one, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, was exactly the same. This was made in, like, a Viking was in the UK, so UK, England, way like the Saxons and all of that, those days. It was the same thing. All that is cut off, but then you can have a relationship with a woman, but not with a man. And I'm pretty sure, because you can play as a male or a female in this game, same thing with this one. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. You can be a lesbian as well in it. But if that was a lesbian, you can do as well. Like, a woman can have sex with a woman in the game, which is not sex what you're thinking of. But it's just, a kiss, and then they go, and then they change the scene straight away, and then keeps going and so on. But it might be like a bum out or something like that, but that was it. But that's what they do. I've watched Game of Thrones during lockdown with Ryan. I used to finish the episode, and Ryan is still watching, like for extra 10 minutes to 15 minutes. Because there's a lot of scenes they cut out, like gay scenes, or if there's a dick show and they cut it off. But if there's boobs out, or like a vagina or anything like that, it will be on the TV. If there's two men having sex, then it will be on. But then if there's a guy and a guy having sex, that's just a big no-no. So I moved to the UK, and the first thing I bought is these two games again. And I bought all the add-ons to them, so it's like you extended the gameplay even longer with new story, because I wanted the full experience, and by saying full, I meant I wanted my characters to be gay. Easy as that. So I finished this, and I'm still planning to play this because I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy at the moment, and it's long as hell, and I don't have a lot of time to play them really. I've got this. I've got a box set of Game of Thrones 4K, which I'm gonna definitely enjoy because everything's there, nothing's cut up to pieces. And I just watched Lightyear, which is Buzz from Toy Story. That movie, there's gay characters in it. I don't think it was shown in where I'm from, because obviously gay scenes. And some movies, they don't even show it or cut up to pieces because there's gay scenes in them, or sex scenes they take off. But they show kisses, but they cut everything out, which I understand. But when I play games, I just want to play games. Like, if the things are in it, I don't mind it. I would love it be there. And I paid for something, I want to get what I paid for. Why do I have to cut things out of it? Literally, like, because it's choices. When someone having a conversation with someone in the game, there's one of them have heart in it, like have a relationship with the person, and then you could have more missions with them or whatever. You can't have that, they take it off. So I'm enjoying them now. And I got more freedom, more things that I can do, more relationship I can have with other gay guys, with other lesbian women, with other authors, because we've got a lot of LGBT books in here, which I haven't read yet, but I've read Boy Erased, I've read Call Me By Your Name and Find Me, and the rest I haven't started yet. I've got, if I wanted a drink, I can have a drink. If I want to go to a gay bar, I would go to a gay bar. If I want to go to a gay club, I would go to a gay club. It's my call. It's my decision. If I want to do it, I should be allowed to. I understand everything about culture. I understand everything about a religion. But it should be a personal choice. I should be, if someone wanted to be a certain way, let them be. Because the effects on them is huge. It could affect their development as a human being. It could affect their future, their whole life, the people around them. Some people will go to the extreme. Some people might actually end their lives because of it. A lot of people tend to, especially women, tend to fly out, because some of them, they're not allowed to travel because they had to have a permission to travel. I wanted to live outside of my parents' house because I felt like it's been too much on me, especially when it comes to my the way of thinking and me being westernized. I couldn't, because the company couldn't even offer me to live in the company's compound where the Westerners live and have the drinks and the parties they wanted, because it's like a little community of the Western life environment in one place behind doors and guarded and barbed wired walls, because I wasn't Westerner, and I offered to pay as well just to stay there so I can feel normal. I couldn't rent a decent place for me as a single man, because obviously I'm a man and I'm a predator. I would make it into a brothel, but a woman can. She can go and rent a place, easy, no problems. But if I want to do it, and I felt at that moment like, why the hell I can't rent a place? I can get a place, but it's a shithole. One room with one toilet, nothing. You don't have a parking spot, and you can, the apartment above you will be like 10 guys living in it. I couldn't find a way for me to live there alone. I couldn't. I was even attacked at work because I was wearing Western clothes, so they forced me into wearing the traditional thing, thobe and all of that, because I wasn't allowed to, because I wasn't proud of being Saudi. That's what they told me. They told me that, so I'm supposed to believe it and say yes, I wasn't, which they were wrong. I can't tell you the amount of time I thought about what my life would be if I was there still. I can't tell you the things that I would leave behind if I've ever went, which I would never, I wouldn't even think twice. Uh, but coming here to the UK, things I'm facing at the moment, the the visa process I went through, I had a full, well, 2 years in July. The process I went through for the visa, the amount of money that I spent to get the visa, I've spent almost all of my savings for living and visa fees, and I'm still not finished because every 2 years and a half I have to renew it. And I started looking for jobs. I thought I would be a valuable asset. I thought I'm gonna be a skill that no one could pass and actually try me and see if I'm worth it or not in a work environment, not as a person, in a work environment. I've been applying for jobs for 10 straight weeks every day, from call centers to retail to banking to admin assistant to specific positions where I used to do back home. I get nothing. I get emails saying we filled the position, or emails saying there's a high volume of applicants for this role, so we decided to let your CV go. I've got my CV looked at professionally, and that's the CV I was applying from. Nothing. I'm getting nothing. I had one interview for the amount of jobs I applied for in 10 weeks. I'm telling you, it's gonna be over 50 jobs. I'm pretty sure it's 100 more than that. I'm literally sitting 2 days ago thinking of the brands I like. Ubisoft I applied for, which is my favorite developer for my favorite game. Applied for Tesco. I applied for I looked for a job in M&S. There's none. I applied for John Lewis. I applied for Phoenix. I applied for the brands I love, and the recent one, it was Barclays. I applied for that and I got good feedback. They liked my CV. They liked my answers for the assessment they had, and they gave me a call personally to tell me exactly that and ask me if they want to keep my details in for a future vacancy, which I said yeah. So I'm facing that at the moment because I'm pretty sure it's because I don't have experience here in the UK. So my life at the moment is just living day by day, trying to get my career started, trying to get my driving licenses coming, and trying to restart my life again. The life I wanted to live, but I did not want to live this life where I can't rely on myself. I have to have other people to rely on. Ryan, and Julie, Ryan's mother, I'm so grateful for, by the way. And I cannot keep spending my own savings because I don't know where I'm gonna end up. I'm stuck, literally, in a life I wanted to live. So, and I was thinking of it back home. I was like, I'd rather live homeless in a country where I can be who I am than in a country where I'm living like a prince. Full stop. So hopefully in the coming days I would hear something positive, and get my life rolling. And again, I was thinking of doing this video for ages, but I think now's the time. So this is it. I'm making it. So yay. Yeah. So there's more to say. There's more to talk about, but that's all I'm gonna share at the moment. And I hope you enjoy it. you would know anything or any other details in the future about what's gonna happen with me career wise and the changes gonna happen. But for now, I'm just gonna end it here because I don't know what I'm talking about. So thank you for everyone who made me realize who I am, that they stew, and don't forget about David.
Oh my god.
And actually play a game that I'm fancying the actual characters and trying to play gay as what I used to do back home by playing straight. So thank you for staying that long with me, and thank you for your fingers because you clicked on the video and watched it. So till next time, I don't know what we're gonna do with Ryan, but we'll find out a way to coming up with new material. So have a good day, night, evening, whenever you're watching this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye, or as he would say, adios.